Right. That sounds amazing. Can you tell us what a customer should have in mind when choosing the right silo temperature monitoring system? What is the
So what I do consider that it is important, they have a specific volume of grains. Actually, silos, as you well know, are measured in cubic meters, even if farmers are saying I have 1,000 tons or 3,000 tons, because it's one thing to
yes?
have wheat, another thing to have sunflower seeds, different weight on the same volume. So regarding that volume, there is a risk of having issues in some point. When you're having issues, there is an increase in temperature. So if you have less sensors, the issue could be located between the sensors. So if you have less sensors, the risk is higher. If you have more sensors, the risk is smaller. And you can spot the issue before it even appears, or you can ventilate, you can move the grain if it's necessary, and so on. So yeah, the number of the sensors dictates the risk. Of course, if you're going to store the grains only for 1 month, the risk is very small because you store it and you sell it in 1 month and that's it. There will be no risk of having fermentation. But when you design the silo, at least take into your calculations to have the reinforcements in the roof so that if you need to add some sensors in the future, at least you can do it because those are mounted under the roof when the silo is not built. If you build it, then it's very difficult to mount those metal reinforcements under the roof because you're having like 20 meters in height. it's, it's a lot of height. You cannot go
Yeah.
climb there, you know? So that's one thing. Then depending on the employees that they are having and the kind of grains that they are storing, they should eliminate human errors. So if they have good people, maybe an automation system could be replaced by the persons that are working there. If you're having the night shift, a person working during the night to ventilate, but to stop the ventilators when the moisture goes up or when it's starting to rain at 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, and not the security guy from the gate that is sleeping all night, but somebody that really knows how to do it and to track the moisture outside so that you don't input
Yeah.
moisture into the grain. So they should eliminate, depending on their case, maybe for some of them is not useful if they have a night shift employee that is responsible for that. But if he doesn't, then maybe he should invest in an automation system to
Okay.
to eliminate those human errors.
And from the maintenance perspective, are there any specific challenges on the long term with these systems? Because we are
There are a
talking
lot of
also,
them.
yeah,
Yeah, a lot of them. Most of them are caused by the grain that have very high pulling forces because of the friction with the cables of the temperature probes that are protecting the sensors inside. So regarding these pulling forces, those probes should be dimensioned properly so that those don't break in time. And maybe some competitors are promoting cheaper products. I will not name a company like that, but I have a large customer that initially I was selling their sensors. And on Friday and this Monday, I had the support team there, and over half of the sensors were completely destroyed. Actually, all the sensors that I provided from that company got ruined mechanically.
okay,
So because I sold it and because it's a good customer and we are also doing other business with this customer, I will replace it entirely on my own expense. But actually it was not my product. It was a flaw in their product and so on and so forth. but because I bought and resold, resell it to the end user here in Romania, I will replace it. And this is kind of our approach. If it's our fault, we replace it. And they use the product like 5 years. So it's not like they didn't had a product, functional
Yeah.
product. It just damaged too fast. So yeah, we will replace those sensors. So yeah, maybe the price is smaller, but the price is not going to provide good reliability in time, especially in this case, because if the grain is pulling, has a pulling force of 1 ton per sensor, then if you don't have a good quality and reliable product there, it's going to get damaged, like in this case. And the second, the cabling system mostly is done on the roof. So there is a lot of stress on the cables there because you have sunlight, UV, you have cold in the winter, extreme temperatures in the summer.
Yeah.
The roof is zinced and it will act like a mirror reflecting the UV. So the cables have a lot of stress because of that. During the winter, you have a lot of snow and ice that can break the cables if you're not installing properly with protection tubes and so on. There are a lot of sharp metals on the roof. When it's windy, if the cable is loose, it will move just like that, just a few millimeters, like vibrating. But
Yeah.
if it's uh, close to a sharp metal, it will get cut in the shed. So the cable will get ruined. So it's you really need to use a lot of best practices that we've improved and discovered in time. And right now, I do consider that we have a lot of best practices um, in order to eliminate those errors.
Is climate a factor in all these considerations you just mentioned?
Regarding our case, the climate influences a lot. If you have a drought, then you don't have a large quantity of grains to store. So it's affecting the production of the grains. Maybe the quality as well. We had some cases when the grains were looking fine, and before the harvesting season, they had a huge rain that kind of ruined half of the crop, and they harvested as it was, and it was having a high moisture, and that's very risky when you store it. Because as I told you, higher temperature, okay, you lower the temperature, but high moisture means also high risk. And both high temperature and high moisture is the riskiest of them all.
Yeah.
Not every farmer has a dryer and so on. Some of them, they are not having ventilators for each silo, which is also a strange thing. They are moving the ventilator. So the ventilating process takes longer because you have to move it. You cannot ventilate when it's optimal all the silos in the same time. This is how it's affecting the grain storage industry, as far as I know.